Hello and welcome to the Moms Who Know podcast. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen, and joining us today is Lesleys Fightmaster. Leslie, how are you?
I'm good. Chanel, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. I am so excited to have Leslie on the show today. She is a mother of two boys named Indy and Stone. She and her husband run Fightmaster Yoga, and she does the yoga videos, and her husband, Duke, is the one behind the camera. Leslie is a certified yoga instructor registered with Yoga Alliance, and she's on the faculty of the Yoga Works Teacher Training Department. Leslie's YouTube channel, which is how I am familiar with her, has hundreds and hundreds of amazing yoga videos to choose from. She's a fantastic teacher with over 250,000 subscribers. If you're not familiar with her yoga, definitely wanted to introduce her to everyone so that you can experience that. She just has such a great way of teaching yoga. I really love her classes and her videos, and we're going to get into all that. But Leslie, let's go ahead and start with kind of your background and how you got into yoga and also how you got started with your YouTube channel.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for all of those kind things that you said about me. That's so sweet. So I started practicing yoga when I lived in San Francisco, and that was probably around 1999 or 2000. And I started practicing because I really wanted to be able, this sounds kind of silly now, but not silly, but different maybe. I wanted to learn how to meditate. I could not for the life of me sit or lay down and meditate for any period of time because my head was always just so loud, just could not turn it down or especially off. So I heard that yoga can help with meditation, and I began taking classes. The first classes I took were Bikram classes, the hot yoga classes, and nothing against anyone who loves the Bikram practice, but I did not. I was so sad. I was like, oh no, this is yoga and I can't do it, because I had some friends that were doing it and I didn't know that there were different kinds of yoga. I had no idea. So if you're new to yoga and you're listening and you go to Fightmaster Yoga and you're like, I don't really like this, that's totally okay. Go and try another kind of yoga. There's different kinds, and there's usually something for everyone. It doesn't really matter what kind calls to you as long as you're just moving and breathing. That's important.
Yes, I love that.
So after I found Vinyasa flow kind of / Ashtanga, I started to practice that, and it was amazing because, well, first of all, it was so physically challenging. I had no idea what to do, and I just hid in the back, and I couldn't do anything. I was a mess. I mean, if I were my teacher looking at me, I think about what it was like for me when I started. I would just look at me and be like, yeah, that's probably not really going to continue for very long.
I think we can all relate, right? We've all been in the back of a class before, just like, oh, wow. Yeah.
Yes. And so just know also, if it doesn't come easily to you, you're not alone. And it's not really what it's about. It's not about whether or not you can do the poses correctly anyway. That what really matters is that you're safe in your body when you're practicing. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter if you ever wrap your feet behind your head, because that's not important. But I loved the way that I felt, basically. I'd get to Shavasana, which is the last pose of a practice, which means, literally, it means corpse pose. And so I would get into Shavasana and my head was quiet. It was so amazing. So after that, I was pretty much hooked, and I continued practicing. And then I moved to Orange County in 2006. My husband and I had our first son in 2004. Or no, we moved in 2004 or 5. And then I took my teacher training in 2006. So my son, Indy, who is now almost 13, he was 2 when I took the teacher training. And my son, Stone, unbeknownst to me at the beginning of training, was growing inside of me. Oh. So I had no idea that I was pregnant until I was 10 weeks into the training. It's a 12-week course. And then I found out and I was like, oh, what a surprise. So
were you feeling okay? You didn't feel sick or anything?
I didn't feel sick until
that's lucky. Okay.
I know. And after I found out, I was because when I found out, I must have like just got pregnant when I started, because when I found out, I was less than 3 months pregnant.
Okay.
And, but when I was pregnant with Indy, I did have more morning sickness than I did when I was pregnant with Stone. So I was feeling tired and everything, but I was working full time. I was, in a teacher training on the weekends. So, and I had a 2-year-old. So of course I'm tired.
Yes, of course. You would have been tired, pregnant or not. Yeah.
Exactly. So I didn't really think a whole lot of it. But when I did find out I was pregnant, I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense then.
How funny.
And then I started teaching pretty much right away. The first class that I taught was actually a prenatal class, and I was pregnant with Stone when I taught it. So that was kind of fun.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
That's a long story. I'm going to warn you, Chanel, I can go on and on. So please.
No, this is great. This is the stuff we want to know. This is good. I was just going to ask you, so then when did you start the YouTube channel, and what was your motivation behind starting that?
So I started the YouTube channel. I think we put up our first video sometime in 2012. I don't even know when. But what happened was my husband is a comedian and he's a writer, and he got a new camera. And before that, previously, he had his own YouTube show called the Duke Fightmaster Show. And it was basically a talk show. And we had like all these friends that would come over, and we lived in Laguna Beach, and we had this really big bedroom at the time, and they'd all like pile into the bedroom, and he would interview people and he would put it up on YouTube. And he wanted to do that because he's like a creative guy. He's a comedian, and he wanted to do something that was more creative. He had been working in the mortgage industry before that, and he was not enjoying that at all.
Wow. Yeah. Those are two very different.
Yes. Unfortunately, the Duke Fightmaster show really didn't take off anywhere. But he did learn a lot about YouTube. And then he bought a new camera, and he wanted to practice using it. So fast forward 2012, he gets a new camera, and he said, oh, can I just film you doing yoga so I can practice using my camera? And so, sure, of course you can. So we went to one of the places I was teaching in Dana Point, really pretty. So the earlier videos that you see are all filmed at Pacific Ashtanga Yoga Shala in Dana Point. And it's a really pretty studio. So we used that location, and he just filmed me doing yoga, and I just did some yoga. And then I put a voiceover with it. We even put music with it because we didn't know about copyrights or anything like that. And then we put it up on YouTube and forgot about it. And then we did another one maybe 9 months after that. And same thing. Filmed it, put it up, forgot about it, even put music with it again. And then we had no plan to start a YouTube channel. So maybe another year went by, and Duke said, those videos that we put up, they're getting a fair amount of views. And so we started thinking, wow, that's interesting. At the same time, our kids are now probably, 6 and 8, something around there, 9 something, and they were addicted to Minecraft on YouTube. So they would watch YouTube. They didn't even watch television. They only watched YouTube. So we found out that people were actually had YouTube channels, and they were turning them into businesses, and they were paying their bills through YouTube. So we thought, well, that's really interesting. And then we connected with some other yoga teachers that had started what was called the Digital Yoga Network. And that was, I think, in 2014. And they told us, they said, yeah, you can be part of the network if you want to. And all you have to do is upload a video once a week. And so we thought, well, we can do that. And so that's what we did. And then I started answering the comments, and I never answered the comments before. I didn't even know there were comments. I didn't know anything about YouTube. So I started answering the comments, and I was blown away by all of the really nice things that people said. And I loved that there were so many moms that commented that said, I can't get out of my house. You know, my baby's napping and I get to practice yoga with you and it makes me feel really good. And just so many different kinds of people coming, but I was especially touched with the moms because I was a mom I am a mom, but I was like a stay-at-home mom with Indy for the first couple of years before I started doing teacher training and things. And I used to do my workouts at home all the time too. And I did a lot of yoga at home and it was a lifesaver for me. And I thought, that's really nice that I can help other moms, feel saner in their life because stay-at-home mom is a hard job. It's a lot of work.
It is. And I can totally relate to that. I mean, that's me. If I want to work out, I can take the baby out for a walk. I can do that. But if I want to do something different, it's pretty much me and you on YouTube. So I am in that same boat and I appreciate that so much. I get that.
Yes. It's totally a great thing for moms. And then I got, from all over the world, I started getting comments of people saying that there isn't a yoga studio nearby where I live. And so I just love that I get to practice yoga. So I knew that I didn't know if we were ever going to be able to make a living from it, but I knew that I had to keep doing it. So that's kind of how it all began.
That is so cool. Well, I love it. And I like that you mentioned too, reading the comments. That's something that I've noticed about you is that people make a lot of comments and you're very active in the YouTube channel about replying to comments, answering people's questions. And I think that's one of the things that really makes you stand out because people feel very connected with you. They feel like, well, if I have a question, then Lesley's going to answer it. And you can kind of see that, which is a wonderful thing that you do. Now you mentioned moms that, moms can't get out. Why else do moms specifically need yoga?
I think that moms need yoga because, like I mentioned, being a mom is a really tough job. And we need to be able to ground ourselves. We need to be able to clear our minds and give ourselves some self-love. We really need to take care of ourselves because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of our little ones. We can't take care of our kids. So for me, yoga is sort of like plugging my phone in at the end of the day so that it can recharge and be ready for the next day. So when I do my yoga practice, I can like plug into that energy and I can get, re-energized, recentered. I feel less stressed and I just feel like a happier person because nobody wants a stressed mom. Nobody wants an angry mom, So it's, I think it helps me to be a better mom.
Yeah, I think so. I think that recharge, that's a great word because we start off with these intentions every day. I'm going to be a good mom and I'm going to do this and that and it'll be great. And then by the end of the day, it's all kind of unwound and we're kind of frazzled and we're not there. So being able to have a way to recharge, and whether that's yoga, it definitely is for me, or if it's something else, but we've got to find that way that works for us that we can reboot because otherwise you're just starting off the next day frazzled already. And it's just a downward spiral from there.
Exactly. And yes, yoga is one way, but there are lots of ways to do it. I like the yoga because it helps me to connect with my breath. And really, breath is so important to lower our stress levels. And we only use, I read some study, we only use about 30% of our lung capacity normally. So when we practice our yoga, we can increase that. And when we get more oxygen into our body, more blood gets into the oxygen, more blood moves around the body. It increases the energy level and decreases the cortisol, the stress hormone that will the fight or flight that will kind of come out and rear its ugly head when we don't need it to, but we feel stressed. And so it happens. So, yoga is great. Running is great. Meditation, stretching, really anything that can connect your body with your breath and mind is really important.
Yeah, as you were talking, I took a deep breath.
Yes.
It's always good to be reminded so that we can do that and kind of feel it. You can feel just in one deep breath, you feel a difference.
Yep.
So yoga, it has so many benefits. For you specifically, you mentioned a few already, stress relief and things like that. But on the mat and off the mat, what have you seen change in your life as you have started this regular yoga practice?
I have seen myself become a nicer person, honestly. And it wasn't that I was ever a mean person, but I used to take people personally a lot more. When I started practicing my yoga before I was doing it regularly, I had really thin skin, so if somebody would look at me in a way that I perceived as like, oh my gosh, why are they giving me a dirty look? What did I ever do to them? I would take people personally a lot more. And because of that, I had sort of built up a wall around my heart because I didn't want people to hurt me, even though most of the time it was just in my mind. So I realized after practicing yoga more that my skin became thicker. I didn't take people as personally, but my heart started to open up and really it was just more accessible, which made me or continues to make me into a nicer person. So I'm not afraid to connect with people now. I'm not afraid of, are they giving me a look? Because it's really not my business. If somebody doesn't like me, it's not my business. It's okay, because I know that I'm not going around trying to make people upset. That's not what I do. I'm being me. I'm just who I am. And if people don't like who I am, then that's okay. It has more to do with their own story than it has to do with mine. And that's given me so much freedom to be able to kind of pursue things that I wanted to do. Because honestly, when I first put up the yoga videos, I was terrified. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to get people commenting, like, saying things that weren't nice or anything, but I was pretty much expecting the worst. And I got the best. It was, the people that are in our yoga community are the sweetest, nicest, most loving people. And honestly, Chanel, I kind of have to admit that I have a little bit of a body image issue. And the yoga definitely helps. But honestly, like, I look back at my earlier videos and I believed that people were going to look at me and say, wow, she needs to lose some weight, or she's not in very good shape, blah, blah, blah. I had all of these, negative thoughts that would continue in my mind. And, over time, I more and more begin to let them go. But the funny thing is I think that I talked about them so much in my head that things started to manifest. And I recently found out I have like this low thyroid issue. And one of the things that it causes is weight gain and bloating. And so I'm now I'm working with a functional medical place and just kind of doing one of those elimination diets to get out, things that are causing inflammation in my body and trying to regulate the hormones. Because, I'm now 46. And so I'm getting to the point where hormone stuff is starting to happen.
Right.
And so I'm, working on regulating all of that. So it's kind of funny that it's sort of, this is the time of my life so now I'm trying to find just so much more acceptance about the shape of my body, and that I constantly remind myself that it's not important. What is important is taking care of ourselves and doing the very best that we can do with what we have. And, that's what I just continue to do.
I'm so glad you brought that up about body image, because that's something I think is so familiar to so many of us. We all get that. First of all, you look fabulous. Aww. You do. And Also, I've wondered for you because, a lot of people in the yoga space and the YouTube videos and even in the other DVDs that are out there are, 20 something, never had kids. And you're kind of filling this different niche because you're a mom, that changes your body, but you still look great and you're still fit. And I think that's such a good example to say, hey, I've had kids, maybe it's changed my body, whatever, but I am strong. I am doing this and I'm not afraid to put myself out there. I mean, sometimes, in yoga, your buns are in the sky and, you're showing it all. So that's a wonderful thing for us to be able to see. And I'm glad that you haven't experienced a lot of outside judgment, people saying anything. And that's another great thing of yoga is that we learn not to judge ourselves in yoga for not doing this pose perfectly or anything. We also bring that to others and we learn not to judge others. So it's a great little cycle there of accepting ourselves and accepting others. So
it's so true. It's so true. And when we find that self-acceptance, it is so much easier to not be judgmental about other people, because really when I get right down to it, if I ever am feeling judgmental about somebody, it's because I see something in them that I don't like about myself. It really has nothing to do with them. It always comes back to me, and it always comes back to, wow, I think I have a little more work to do around in that area.
It's a good little lesson for ourselves of what we need to be looking at ourselves and evaluating. Well, we are almost out of time, but I wanted to talk something else special that you do is your closing sequence. So I was wondering if you could tell people who aren't familiar, tell us a little bit about what that is and how you came up with it and what it means to you.
Well, I like to end the classes sitting, and I'll bring my hands together in front of my heart, and that's called Anjali mudra, and it's a mudra of reverence. And then I bring my hands up to the forehead and say to remind us to have clear and loving thoughts, and then hands back to the heart center, reminding us to have clear and loving intentions, and then hands to the mouth, reminding us to have clear and loving communications. And then we send out all the positive energy that we created to all beings everywhere with namaste. And namaste means the light within me recognizes and honors the light that is within each of you, everyone that's watching. And I heard the first part from one of my very first teachers when I was practicing in San Francisco. Her name's Janet Stone. So if anybody's in the San Francisco area, highly recommend her. She's amazing. And she used to say that. I don't know if she still does, but this was going back, 15 years, however long it's been. And she used to say it, and it stuck with me. So I started to say it when I taught my regular classes at the studios. And then I said it once when I did a video. And my husband said, I really like that. I really think that you should end all of your videos that way. And the reason I love it so much is because it reminds us that it's our job to have the clear and loving thoughts, the clear and loving intentions, the clear and loving communication. We need to put that out. And then when we put that out into the universe, then that's what we're going to get back. Because it's like a big magnet. Whatever we put out is what we will receive in return. And I'm telling you, I've been doing that now for a long time, and I can't even tell you how much positivity I get back. So this stuff really, really, really is awesome. It really makes a difference what we think and how we feel in our bodies, because it's all energy, and whatever energy we're putting out, we're going to get back. So I like to remind myself to have those clear and loving thoughts and feelings and communication. And I think it's important for us all to remind each other, because the more people that will practice yoga and try to adopt that kind of an attitude, the happier our entire world can be. So it's that powerful.
Oh, I love that. I totally agree. So even if people maybe aren't ready to start a yoga practice or the physical aspect is not for them, just that little bit of intentional thinking and that little sequence is so powerful. It's such a good reminder for me. I do my yoga in the morning, and it's such a nice thought to be intentional about, okay, I'm channeling my thoughts. What am I going to think about? What's going to come out of my mouth today? And just that little second of thought, I feel like influences my whole day because I'm putting that thought and energy behind it. So I love that. I think that's a beautiful thing that you've added to your videos. Any last tips for moms who are thinking of starting a yoga practice or who want to start making some changes in the way that they are more intentional about their days?
Well, if you are thinking about wanting to start a practice, I would recommend on my YouTube channel, there's a beginner's 30-day program, and it's a great place to start. It starts out very slowly, and then it builds by the end of the 30 days, but it starts out very, very slowly. And some people, if they're not as physical, they might just do the first week or two and just kind of stick with that, because as it gets more challenging, it might be a little too challenging, and that's fine. It doesn't ever matter how many poses you do, or it is like you were just saying, it is about the intention and it is about the breath. And any kind of intention setting, any kind of just focus on your breath is going to make you feel better. And I also have some gentle classes and meditation, like meditations that are guided. And guided meditations are wonderful because it's really hard to sit quietly all by yourself.
Yes.
So if you have a guided meditation, it keeps you a little more connected and it makes you feel really good. And you'll be surprised, moms. You will be surprised if you do some sort of a yoga practice. Doesn't matter how physical it is, but any sort of a yoga practice that links your breath, you will definitely feel more energized. And let's face it, we need a lot we moms.
It takes a lot of energy.
Takes a lot of energy. We need it. So I encourage you to just try it. And again, if you don't like it, try someone else's YouTube channel or go to a studio if you can get out, if you're able to. Try different things. You will find something that resonates. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And it never, just underwhelm yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself. Start really slowly.
That is so great. I love it. Well, if you want to try Lesley's videos, you can find her website at fightmasteryoga.com or her YouTube channel, which is Fightmaster Yoga. I highly recommend, like she mentioned, her 30-day beginner course. I've done that. It's wonderful. And pretty much anything else you're looking for, you will find there. So Lesley, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been really fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Chanel.